So when I say Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, Gillman, the Mummy, Cat People, etc., amongst many other names, what movie studio comes to mind? Universal. Especially that beautiful Universal Blu-ray set that I have that I may eventually watch that. But what if there was a 1980s tribute to them? And we're talking very specifically the Monster Squad. Call them for a monstrous good time. You know who to call when you have ghosts, but who do you call about monsters? Whether it's a bat in your belfry or a mummy in your microwave. This monster squad ain't afraid of no ghouls. Count Dracula has until midnight to retrieve an ancient amulet that will give him final control over the delicate balance between good and evil in the world. To help him, the creepy counts on some old friends: the weird werewolf, grotesque Gillman, mildewed mummy, and freaky Frankenstein. As the ghoulish group gets closer to the amulet, it's up to the Monster Squad, headquartered in the local treehouse, to pool its questionable resources and stop the monster mayhem. I recently reviewed Fright Night and thought that was like a 1980s movie. This is even more of a 1980s movie right here. It's got everything that you love about this. It's got the monster action. It's got the kids that make up the team, and it's just got so many gosh darn good things about it. But at the same time, there were a couple of things I did not like about it. But the good do outweigh the bad. But I just found out movie poster and this. I'm going to read this right here. 20 years ago, the Monster Squad was released to dismissive critical reaction and anemic box office. To quote my longtime agent, the silence was deafening. Years went by. Then something odd happened. I began to get inklings the movie was being discovered on cable and home video. T-shirts and VHS tapes started popping up on eBay. There were punk bands and websites. A waiter once looked at my credit card receipt and said, "Are you the Fred Drecker who directed the Monster Squad?" I said yes. When I said yes, he asked for an autograph. Cut to, as we screenwriters say. April 2006. Thanks largely to Eric Vesp of Ain't It Cool News, I was sitting in the lobby of the Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas, signing more autographs. Lots of them. Because there was a line of fans out the door and down the street. All of them there to see the movie on the big screen. That night, the Monster Squad played to two sold-out, screaming, cheering crowds. More screamings followed, all around the country, then conventions and personal appearances. The fan base was proving itself not only passionate but also huge, and without fail, every other question was there. Where's the DVD? As you hold the answer to that question in your hands, it finally and gratefully occurs to me, the movie did find its audience after all. It just took 20 years. And yes, Wolfman still has NARS. This movie is freaking funny. One of my personal favorites is when, like, you got you got the boys who won't let their 5-year-old sister into the house, into the club. So it's like, yeah, they're just behaving like stereotypical 1980s boys, and then eventually a little bit later, Frankenstein's monster appears, and they just look at him, and it's like, what are we going to do with him? We're going to call the police. No, they're just going to lock him in a box. And then the girl just says, "Can I join the club now?" So it was kind of funny to see that. There's also, what you just, when I said about, well, like, what the heck is the Wolfman's got NARS line, you may ask? I say, hey, Wolfman doesn't have any NARS, and it turns out one of the kids that they call the fat kid or whatever kicks him in the groin and is like, Wolfman's got NARS. Yes, that is that type of humor. It's juvenile, but it's, in case anyone's wondering, this is water with a straw. It's done right that almost anyone would like. However, with that 1980s writing, though, I do have to admit, when they talk about the virginity of a woman, it just feels forced. And it's like, why are you bringing this up with sex jokes? I mean, it's like, yeah, when you're around, I think, how old is kids, like 12, 13, it's like, when you're in your early teen, when you're around like 12 and you're early to mid-teens, you're going to make you're going. It, it's like you're going to have jokes like that. It just didn't age particularly well. But that's really the only gripe that I have with it. I mean, it's like you got all the monsters that are represented well. I mean, it's like, of course, the guy who plays Dracula, which is his name, Duncan Rager, and Tom Newman. Yeah, Duncan, he has a gosh darn good performance. You know, he's strong and intimidating at 6'5". He was also a boxer. Let's not forget that. So, I'm like, yeah, I like it when the villains have presence about them, and it's like, he revives all the old monsters. He got a scepter for control. Speaks with a dignified accent. Talks to Frankenstein in a way that it's like, I want you. It's like these kids have a the I want you to retrieve it, and it's like, he's got the presence, he's got the look, especially looking dapper and everything. No mustache. Seriously, Dracula had a mustache. So, but it's like he does such a dang good job. Wolfman is great. The make is like the visual effects are stunningly great on all the monsters. I like that. They of course were taking their time to do a tribute to it and everything, and I'm just like, this is what I want to see. I want to see dedication to it. And they couldn't get like all the little plugs for Frankenstein on the neck, so they put it on the forehead just to avoid dealing with Universal. So I liked I like that. It's like there's enough of a tribute to it, but at the same time, it's like this movie has its own identity. There are great scenes like when all the monsters are on there. Oh, it's fantastic. It was like even like one of the younger kids, like with the mummy. Dad comes in, checks like, hey, there's no monsters here. And then he's like, I just saw one in the closet. So the dad looks in, pretends that there's nothing in there. Meanwhile, there's the mummy right there, and then he just disappears out the window, which I was found funny. And they said, yeah, who would want? And they even questioned who would want to steal a 2,000-year-old mummy? Well, he didn't just get up and walk, did he? Cut to the mummy just walking by himself. Apparently Dracula probably revived him, so that was funny. And fortunately, we don't get to see too much of him, just besides just that one scene. I'm just like, that's the one thing that just kind of didn't do it too right for me. And I guess there's also the scene where like there's this one tough rebel kid who smokes. It's like he's the cool kid. It's like they go and ask him, Steve, do you know any virgins? Does a spit take, and then they make a cut, I think, back towards the lake. And yes, they did. Almost, they did kind of pay tribute to the famous scene of Frankenstein throwing the little girl in the lake. I mean, it's like it was hinted at, and eventually, I mean, someone does get thrown into a lake, but it's not the little girl. So I guess that was kind of the 1980s playing with it. There's also, it's like, then again, I said it's 1980s. Like, you got the kind of like other kids that are kind of bullies, not super duper bullies, but it's like really it's like Dracula is really the bully. You got kind of the family fighting over, I guess, thematically it has to deal with like pursuit of a job over family life, and it's light. It's more of a tribute. Surprisingly, Dracula uses dynamite. I'm like, good. We have a vampire that is using modern technology to help. Now, if we could only get a vampire that wears bulletproof vests or something where they can put like extra metal around their heart, we'd have a good modern day vampire. But at least there's something going on with an actual smart, gosh darn vampire who can, at the very least, utilize good weaponry rather than just a suave, sophisticated Bela Lugosi one. So yeah, part of the trivia is that when like a little girl Phoebe was getting rised up, it was like Duncan wouldn't wear the contacts around her, but would not wear the contacts as to not scare red contacts as not to scare the daughter, but eventually this one scene he did, and we see the genuine scared reaction. So it's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like maybe just outside of some dialogue that just hasn't aged well, and maybe the Mummy that doesn't get enough screen time. I really do recommend. But yeah, with what I said, and but the visuals are great, the performances are good for what they are, and you reference of Van Helsing, then I really do recommend you watch The Monster Squad.